Here we go.
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I've traveled the country talking about change for America, but my travels have also changed me. I've spent time with grieving mothers who've lost their children, laid-off workers whose jobs have gone to other countries, and people from all walks of life who just want a better future. I have gotten to know the great people of our country, and I've been humbled by the faith they've placed in me. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down. Let's be honest, we're living in the real world. This is nothing more than a distraction from the important issues we're facing today. We're losing our jobs, we're less safe than we were 8 years ago, and Washington is totally broken. Hillary Clinton and her kind have run our country into the ground. I've said some foolish things, but there's a big difference between the words and actions of other people. Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days. See you at the debate on Sunday.
Donald Trump, statement just released moments ago on his Facebook page, and there you saw it live right here on CNN. So again, my panel is back. Gloria, you had the floor before. He said, I said those things. I'm not a perfect person, but I have changed. This is a decade ago. I have changed. I've traveled around the world, around the country, and I've seen that people want a better future. I pledge to be a better man. He says that this is a distraction from the real issues, and said, I've said some foolish things, and I apologize. He said, but Bill Clinton, bringing up Bill Clinton again, has abused women, and Hillary Clinton has shamed them. And so what do you make of this statement?
Well, I think it went further than his first statement went because it contained an apology, but he also didn't address the issue of what was contained in the tape, which was, him being predatory towards women, and then turned it again to Bill Clinton, as he did in his original statement, and called it nothing more than a distraction. It is something more than a distraction. It's something quite disturbing. And so while this went a little further, he still turned it around to talk about Bill and Hillary Clinton again, as if this tape were about them and not about him.
Okay. I want to go around and get everyone's response. David Swerdlin.
Well, Dodd, the other thing, I agree with Gloria, the other thing is that one thing he said flies in the face of what we know from following this campaign. He said, people who know me know that this isn't me, this incident isn't like me, and yet people who've been following this campaign do know that this is in line with other things he said. Last year, he attacked Megyn Kelly, saying she had blood coming out of her wherever, and then when people called him out for referring to her anatomy, he brushed it off and said, no, that's not what I was talking about. Yeah. The media is jumping to conclusions. It doesn't square the circle.
Every time I hear that, I cringe, because that happened on
right.
this show, and I just remember leaving the studio that evening thinking that the interview that Donald Trump had given me was going to be the end of his campaign, and I was, cringing at the statement, and then saying, "Oh my gosh, Donald Trump's campaign was torpedoed on my show."
That's a reminder for tonight, isn't it? It's a reminder that sometimes there are overreactions from the media. Yeah. This was a defiant Donald Trump in this statement. The video looked awkward. The lighting was terrible. He should have been interviewed by someone instead of taking a video. It definitely seemed awkward. But my headline: he's going to the debate. He is not backing down. He is not. This is the Donald Trump his supporters love. Yeah. That he is defiant and that he is going to see Hillary Clinton in 45 hours.
David, finish your statement.
No, I think that was the main thing. To Brian's point about Donald Trump being defiant, my colleague Robert O'Hara reported on this back in June for the Post, talking about how Trump was mentored by Roy Cohn, who was one of the McCarthy-era lawyers, and one of the lessons and the takeaways that folks in Trump's formative, professional years it sort of gave him was this idea of never backing down, never apologizing. In this statement, he did say he apologized, but it was clear, as Brian said, that he's not going to back down. Yeah. He's going to press forward.
Rebecca Berg, what are your thoughts on the statement?
Well, Don, I'd like to just highlight how unusual this moment is in the big picture of this campaign. Donald Trump has not once during this campaign that I can remember apologized for any of the many controversial statements he has made. Tonight, he did. And so whether the American people and whether voters are going to accept that apology, that is an open question. And we'll see in the days and weeks to come what the answer to that is. But I think tonight it is incredible that Donald Trump has taken this step, admitted that he was wrong, said that he will be better in the future. And I think it really underlines how important he recognizes and his campaign recognizes that this controversy is and will be for them. They see that this is very damaging, and they have responded tonight.
I'm interested to know what Kevin thinks as a strategist, what you thought of the tape, and what went into this.
That took 10 hours. You could have done that on an iPhone. That's my first reaction. I think to Rebecca's point, look, apologies are only as good as their sincerity, and that was a very insincere way to offer an apology. So I don't think that it was clearly forced. He was clearly reading. I think Brian Stelter actually makes a good point that defiance is the headline here, and I think they're trying to send a signal to their most core supporters to rally them behind Donald Trump because they figure during his worst moments that's always been the secret to his success. So
the headline is Hillary's worse, Bill's worse, right? That's the takeaway for his supporters.
And that has essentially been his core appeal to Republican voters as well as some swing voters out there, which is at least I'm not Hillary. But this was not an effective strategy. This is not going to end this for him. I don't think it did what it needed to do.
Dana Bash.
Okay, so the campaign officials and advisors who I was talking to, they know, and of course they know, that nothing that he was going to say in any forum was going to end this today or put it to bed. It's just not going to happen for lots of reasons. The biggest of which, of course, is that there's a debate coming up in 2 days. But I think, Kevin, your point about this took 12 hours, it wasn't because they wanted some splashy, fancy production value. I think what took 12 hours was getting the candidate to say those words, crafting the words that he would agree to deliver. With a lot of people around him, hovered around, trying to find the right balance between what he needed to do and what he wanted to do. And while that was happening, our Deirdre Walsh, our House producer, sent a note about yet another House Republican, Representative Mike Kaufman of Colorado, saying that he wants Donald Trump to step aside. So that's
the question, Dana, whether or not does that video send a message to all of those folks right now who are going to have to have their endorsement tested? Is it enough for them to hold them right now?
Right.
I worry that it's not.
It's interesting, Gloria. I want to play it again. I want you to think about this while we play it, and I'll come out to you, Gloria. He says this was a decade ago, and he mentions Bill Clinton. That was 2 decades ago. So, what is what? Let's play it, and then we'll discuss. Here's Donald Trump's response to the tape that came out today.
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I've traveled the country talking about change for America, but my travels have also changed me. I've spent time with grieving mothers who've lost their children, laid-off workers whose jobs have gone to other countries, and people from all walks of life who just want a better future. I have gotten to know the great people of our country, and I've been humbled by the faith they placed in me. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down. Let's be honest, we're living in the real world. This is nothing more than a distraction from the important issues we're facing today. We're losing our jobs, we're less safe than we were 8 years ago, and Washington is totally broken. Hillary Clinton and her kind have run our country into the ground. I've said some foolish things, but there's a big difference between the words and actions of other people. Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days. See you at the debate on Sunday.
Yeah. So he said, see you at the debate on Sunday. We're going to discuss this more in the coming days. But Gloria, again, quite honestly, it sounds like he's reading. And again,
Sure.
he said this was a decade ago, so it's excusable in some way, But then Bill Clinton was 2 decades ago, but not excusable.
Yeah, look, there are a couple things that strike me as I'm looking at the transcript here and listening to it again. First of all, he says, anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. The problem that he's got as a candidate is that these words confirm an existing narrative about him that we heard in the video, which was the narrative of Alicia Machado, the narrative of, calling women pigs, et cetera, et cetera. So people who know him have heard terrible descriptions of women from him, so he's got a problem there. On the Bill Clinton front, he calls Bill Clinton someone who has abused women, and seems to me to be trying to make a distinction between what he says are his words and Bill Clinton's actions. And I would argue, in watching that tape and listening to that tape, that it was predatory behavior that he was talking about, his own predatory behavior, which he seems to be saying was not, that these were just words, as he said in his initial statement, because he called it sort of locker room banter. And again, as we've been talking about all evening, people hear these words in different ways. What's the difference between banter and women who hear this and hear predatory behavior being described? And so I think if he's going to start comparing himself to Bill Clinton and then Hillary Clinton, whom he says shamed his victims, he may be going down a really bad rabbit hole that he shouldn't go down, and that Republicans, more to the point, and Kevin can talk about this, Republicans don't want him to go there because they don't want to be in a position of saying that Donald Trump is not as bad as Bill Clinton was. I mean, that's not a winning argument for Republicans to be having at this point.
I think the problem is that Donald Trump on that audio tape from 2005 sounds more like the real Donald Trump that we've all come to know in our home for the last year versus this videotape tonight.
Right.
One Democratic strategist actually emailed me just now calling this, likening this video to a hostage video. So I think we're going to be hearing a lot more of that from the Democratic side.
But it is, as Kevin, as you pointed out, you said that you can tell when someone is apologizing. You can see the authenticity. This did not seem authentic to you, that he was engaged in this at all. And as Rebecca said, a hostage video.
Right, and that'll be the test for many of his core supporters. I think many of them may find it sincere. I think there are many Republicans that do believe in a redemption story, and he did ask for their forgiveness and that he would never let them down. But again, I think it's the bigger problem that he has right now is that there are a core group of voters, Republican voters, that were already conscientious objectors with Donald Trump. They did not want to support him, but they were supporting him because they thought, well, I'm going to support him because I don't want to support Hillary Clinton. We saw that was emblematic in Jason Chaffetz's remarks earlier. If he loses even a small percentage of those voters, it makes it very difficult for him to win on Election Day.
Okay.
And so that's where the charge that he's going to have for the next 32 days. If he's going to survive this, it's going to be getting those folks back and trying to solidify their support. I think it's going to be an enormous challenge right now.
Dana Bash, see you at the debate on Sunday. Those were his last words. You have co-moderated a debate. I've co-moderated a debate. Man, I wish we were doing this one. So take us forward to this debate. Our colleague Anderson Cooper is. Take us forward to the debate. What happens with this? How does this play?
You know what? Must-see TV. Tune in to CNN on Sunday night to get the answer to that question. Who knows? I mean, what we do know is that it is going to be a blockbuster event. Hillary Clinton has it on a silver platter right now. There were some Democrats today kind of tweeting publicly saying that she needs to not overplay her hand right now because she immediately came out and denounced what he did, which is understandable. But this is one of those moments where perhaps she needs to step back at this point. On the debate stage, it's a whole different thing. And she was so tactical and strategic in the way she drew him out on issues like this, which of course it was the ultimate was about women and his words about women. The question is whether she is going to potentially draw him out about what he has been saying about Bill Clinton. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it actually is something that a lot of Democrats who I'm talking to say it could benefit Hillary Clinton if he does go down the road of Bill Clinton.
Trump gave us a preview. Sure. I just grabbed Don's transcript because right here at the end, he talks about Bill Clinton abusing women and then says, we will discuss this more in the coming days. He is ready to go the Roger Stone route. He is ready to go the Roger Ailes route. He, on that debate stage, sounds like, from this statement, that he wants to talk about Clinton.
There's a problem with that, though,
Sunday.
Brian. There's a big problem with that. The format that we're having on Sunday, which is the town hall format, it's a much more intimate setting. It's a much more sedate setting. That's a really difficult format to try to draw out your an attack on your opponent when you're surrounded by a bunch of swing voters. And swing voters right now are not, I think it's harder to make the argument that people are undecided about Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump right now based on an issue like that.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Well, Hillary Clinton's also a woman, and it's harder when you're talking about this video and your attitude towards women and your own behavior towards women, and then you start attacking Hillary Clinton. You better have it pretty well ordered. Because
particularly if you're going to do it right in front of voters who have technically not yet made up their mind.
Exactly. And if I were Hillary Clinton, I'd just kind of sit back and let him attack and see how that turns out.
That's what I want to tell David Swerdlick, because you said that should be the strategy from the Clinton campaign all along, not to overplay their hands here.
Yeah, I mean, even before this tape came out, right, Donald Trump had more ground to make up in this second debate. And there's no amount of cramming or preparing or changing his style that he can make up for all the years of policy knowledge that Hillary Clinton has ahead of him. She goes deep on all the policy issues. He doesn't. So he was going to have to switch his style up anyway, Don. Now that this issue is on the table, he has more ground to cover and she has less ground to cover. So to Gloria's point, she can really hang back and pick her spots if that's the strategy that she chooses to employ. And like Kevin said, it's going to be harder for anybody to make any moves because they're going to be answering questions directly from voters. And so if Trump wants to get into this argument about Clinton's actions versus his statements, he's going to have to make some chess moves that, frankly, I don't know if he has the debating chops to make.
Do you think that he can? Listen, that is a lot of ground to have to cover, to have to deal with someone who is so knowledgeable about policy. I mean, you must admit, Hillary Clinton is extremely knowledgeable.
Maybe we can talk about some of it on Sunday and not just their personal life.
And then he has to deal with how badly he did last time. He's got to make up for that. And now he has to deal with this as well. Is Trump that good? Can he do that, Kevin Madden?
Look, I think he is. I think he's severely challenged in the debate format, particularly given that he hasn't had one-on-one debate performance experience, where he's going head-to-head with just one other candidate. He flourished when it was 15, 16 folks up there, and he could let them fight amongst each other, and then come through with big, bold rhetoric that would be atomized the next day for voters to see over and over in these YouTube moments. So I think, and the other thing is he hasn't prepared. The town hall format, when I was working for Governor Romney, we actually built a replica set so that we could practice just being on the set and the dynamic of interacting with voters and having your opponent standing right there next to you and walking in a more free way. That is something he hasn't done, and to have to handle all of that, to David's point, all at once, he hasn't shown that he's had the chops.
Can I throw something out there? And it's weird that I want to throw it out because my producer's telling me I have to go to break, but I want to ask, because I'm getting emails from people who are telling me, and this is just, again, this is not confirmed or whatever, that we can expect a Paul Ryan unendorsement soon because this is just beyond. What do you think the possibility of that is? Anyone on the panel?
Certainly it's possible. I think a lot of it depends on how the next couple of days play out and how the pressure stays on him or not. The one upside on the debate prep, which I think his performance will help answer that, is that he's got to understand now that the pressure is on, the fact that he actually was forced to apologize, and maybe he will listen to Chris Christie and Reince Priebus and Jeff Sessions and others who are going to be in the room with him over the next 36 hours, hunkering down and prepping. Maybe he'll be more receptive.
I've got to run. Final last words, anyone? Anyone? Bueller? No.
44 hours.
Nine
Debate night in America.
Right. Thank you all. I appreciate you hanging with us through this and the late hour. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Don.
Very interesting. What do you say? We'll discuss. We'll be back.